All right, it's Ryan Divish. It's our MLB Inside. It's all brought to you by Chalet Bowl, Washington's oldest operating bowling alley, proudly serving the community since 1941, located in Tacoma's historic Proctor District. Family owned and operated for 40 years. Check them out at chaletbowl.com. It's kind of bittersweet, my friend.
Yeah.
The Havre North Stars, the season is over, but God, it was a hell of a run. Was it not?
Yeah, I mean, it ended a little sooner.
A little sooner than you expected, right? What was the hardest part about the Havre North Star season being over?
Oh man, like we had to. So the championship game ended in 5 innings due to weather, and I had to go.
Oh.
When it was not our decision, and we could have played the next day. They didn't want to. The umpires didn't want to do that.
What was their reasoning for not playing the next day?
Because they said they couldn't get the field ready, and there was going to be more bad weather, which there was eventually, but it could have worked. I think they just wanted the tournament to be done. I was told by one of the umpires that most of the umpires didn't want to be there on Monday. They had work, and so they were all leaving Sunday night. I mean, they couldn't have got out of that part faster. So, I got to go tell these players who in the semifinals had come back from a 9-run, they scored 10, but we were only given 9. Scored 10 runs with 2 outs in the 7th inning of a game to tie it. 9 runs to tie it, 10, we had the lead. And, to tell them that their season is over with because of somebody else's decision, because people didn't want to push more, and the lack of accountability from those people, and they didn't really have the stones to go tell them themselves. So that was pretty hard. I mean, I got 4 seniors, a couple of whom will probably never play, baseball again, just weeping. And our players are weeping, and they didn't understand. They didn't understand, why it was over with. Because we had, not to go all Dan Wilson, but we preached all year about fighting and always fighting to the end and playing to the last out of every game, and holding yourselves accountable to that and your mistakes and everything else, and then to see adults hold themselves to that standard is like all the shit we preached kind of goes out the window, and that was one thing too. Like, I made mistakes throughout the year, and after the game, like, I apologized right away. I was like, hey, I messed this up. Like, I should have did this. I should have did that. But we had people there that just didn't simply believe in that, and you saw on Twitter, I posted a video too. We won the semifinal game, and, the call was missed. 3 umps somehow missed it. The guy dropping the ball. And then I simply asked the commissioner at that tournament, I said, hey, did you show them this? I would like them to just admit that they missed the call to my players. We have to move forward. Can't go back and change it. I'd like them to admit that they missed the call and apologize for missing a call. We're all human. We make mistakes. I've tried to preach my guys that, like we had one of our kids got mouthy with an umpire in Canada. We made him go apologize to the umpire and say, you don't do that. This isn't how we do things. Go apologize in between games. And he did. He might not have believed it, but I think he understood it, that was out of line. And the response I got is, we stand by our call. And I mean, it was pretty indicative of a lot of the things that happened. But, honestly, like, pardon my language, but adults have a great way of fucking up kids' sports. I mean, honestly, they do. Nothing goes. You know what's wrong with youth sports? Parents, fucking adults, everybody else, they do it themselves. And that's the bad part. Like, seeing kids crying, and I'm trying to talk to them and I'm trying to explain, and I got tears coming down my eyes. It's just like, and then like the whole aspect of, we gave them an option because the weather was really bad. It was genuinely bad. And that's another thing that it got pretty heated. And this was, cards on the table. I was ejected in the other game, so then they wouldn't let me coach, because the guy who ejected me was the umpire in chief, who was deciding on who gets, if I get to come back. They had thrown out a player and let him come back. They'd thrown out a woman in the stands. She came back within like 2 innings, but so they wouldn't let me come back for the championship game. But we played in that championship game with lightning with lightning in a mile range of the thing. It was everywhere. And the night before in the semifinals, they shut us down with lightning 6 miles out, saying it was too close. We could have played 2 more innings, extended our lead. Mm-hmm. So in the championship game, they shut us down due to lightning, but it was clear they were just trying to play it out as long as possible. And it was getting kind of scary. Like, I'm on the team bus because I can't coach. I'm messaging my coach, my assistant coach, and get them off the field because a day before, a kid in Texas was struck by lightning during a baseball game and killed in the outfield. And I'm like, get them off the field. And so we have parents yelling, get them off the field. This lightning is getting to be a problem, and they don't because they're pushing. So then we go off the field. We're off there for about, an hour and a half break. And they keep saying, well, we want to get this ready. We want to get ready, and I think it was kind of intimated to my assistant coach, either, we play it now or we'll just give Vauxhall the game. And, which they couldn't because we hadn't completed the top of the fifth and we were the visiting team. So they put us back out there in the field. It's raining already. It's just pure mud and the lightning is back around. And then we get, we finish the top of the fourth, start one out in the bottom of the fifth. The rain, it's become muddy. The lightning's back. They pull us off the field and they say, well, we can't play now. And they didn't even try and tarp the field after they pulled us off the second time because they said it would be just a waste of time. And I was like, we just wasted 10 minutes. We just should have sat there, left it tarp. But they were so interested in not playing that game, and I mean, like, we gave them a solution. I was just like, look, in every other district, the top 2 teams get a go. But this year, because one of the teams in our district is hosting state, only one team gets to go. And so we just gave them the option, send the top 2, take the other host team, make it a 9-team state tournament, which it used to be previously 6 or 7 years ago, pre-pandemic. And, again, adults, the simplest solution sometimes, the easiest solution is just hard for adults to grasp. So, and honestly, like yesterday, when you call or you text about doing it, I thought, I'd somehow feel better the next day. I actually felt worse. Like, we had all these plans, and it's like the intent of going to the park, you, as a coach, you're setting up your whole day around practice and what you're supposed to do and everything. And then we didn't have that, and I couldn't even imagine what my players felt like. I hadn't, like, that night when they were done and everybody's giving hugs and everybody's crying, and, my stepson, who's a junior, has got another year, but he knew this was a chance to win a state championship, not just get to state. He's crying, you're giving him a hug, you're thanking them, and then I hadn't felt that bad since my last day of Legion baseball, when it came to sports, like being heartbroken and like there's a hopeless feeling. It was hard. I mean, like I was, when we were coming back, I was setting up to be the best day of coaching I've ever had. The call, everything, how it was handled, and seeing those kids, it was absolutely the worst day of coaching I've ever had in my life. And like, you sit there and process it and you play it out in your mind, and I'm going over every decision I made. Should I switch here? Should I switch there? And like, ultimately though, the kids were the ones who were robbed in all of this,
It's hard. You give a lot of your time and effort, your energy into all of this, and it doesn't matter which kind of level it is, right? And then when it's over in a snap of a finger, and you're like, what do I do now?
So like, if they beat us on the field, like say we go play the next day or whatever, we don't come back and win, they beat us, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with losing. Mm-hmm. Like if you lose, but this just felt like it was taken away.
Yeah.
Multiple times throughout the day. And like I said, I was just so frustrated with that call and that the umpires wouldn't take any responsibility. And in fact, they held it against us because I made a comment in the following game in the coaches meeting at the plate. I just said, we shouldn't even be playing this. And I said, when this is all said and done, you owe my players an apology. And that sort of got them down the road. So
they used it against you.
Yeah. So when I got ejected, it wasn't even for that. There was a play at the plate. What's crazy is my college roommate from when I was playing was the home plate umpire. And it was like one of the, the play at the plate, whether it's obstruction or not, they reviewed it. And then my roommate initially signaled it wrong, like that it was against us, but it was in our favor. So then, but the guy that had made the bad call, the guy who I had an issue with, came running over because he's the umpire in chief, and I just said, I don't want to talk to you. It's his call. I need to hear from him. I want his explanation. I don't want to hear from you. And so then he explained to me. I was like, great. And so then the ump said something. That other guy said something. I said, I'm done with you. We're done. I don't want to talk to you ever again. We're done. And he threw me out for that. I never cursed, never got in his face. I was simply walking away and said, we're just done. I'm done with you. Because I don't need to hear from him. Like, if he's not going to accept responsibility, then, it's fine. Like, I apologize to my kids for not being able to coach the championship game. I apologize to my kids for getting thrown out, and I'm just like, and they're like, well, you didn't deserve to get thrown out. I said, it doesn't matter. I preached to you about controlling your emotions and controlling your mouth. I messed up, but do we get an apology, or we even get accountability for a missed call? No. And I went out of my way. I said, don't use that as an example, and don't think that that's okay. We make, like I said, when we make mistakes, we admit it. Like, when we make mistakes, we run as a team. We do all this stuff. It's like, that's what's so difficult. And, it's like, I know you're big into youth sports, and I'm back in your radio days. You and Ian would do a lot of youth sports stuff and talk about parents and stuff like that. But it's like, what we're ultimately trying to teach, and baseball is such a great game at doing it, is adulthood and adversity and understanding that things don't go your way all the time and things work against you, or this or that, or how do you, accept failure and then move on from it and all this stuff. And then the people at the kind of, the higher levels, or your umpires, your staff, they don't show the same. Like, what kind of example does that set? Like, that's what it's so difficult for me even now to process. And, like, trying to write something to thank my players, and I can't even get through it. So I know. Well, let's go to Dylan Moore being too.
I like this. I just think that there's so much here. I mean,
I think there's a greater there's a greater discussion to have. This is American Legion baseball. I know your son plays on travel teams and stuff like that, but some of the travel ball mentality with some of these select teams is, I just go there and get my playing time. It doesn't, we play to win, but at the end of the day, did I help myself in front of coaches and stuff like that? These are kids that grew up watching people play, wanting to play, represent your town. You're not representing, you're not new level so-and-so 15, the 15th team paying $4,000. We charge our kids $250 to play baseball. Yeah. They get sponsors and everything else, and they have to do work. You charge them $250, and they represent this town. I have kids whose dads played in this program. It means something to them to go out. And so that's the difference, and I think it, the whole culture of it all is very different. But at the same time, you're like, so you hope it's run better. And at times it is. Like, it's just, you're like, you only get one shot at this. It's like, there was a kid that was going to be a senior this year and had another year of eligibility. And, he got caught up in going to this church camp and Bible study and working for his dad. And so then his cousin's on our team, and he's there. And this kid is a college level player. He's 6'6", 260 pounds. He hit over his first 3 years, he hit something like 17 home runs. He's at our senior night weeping because he didn't play and that he made a mistake, And so you're like, that's so much of what I did this year, is trying to teach these guys that this is about a journey that you're on with your friends, and you'll remember all of it. You'll remember the best part of being with your friends, the trips and everything else and the good times. Right. But this had the opportunity to be so much more, and then it's taken away, whatever. But that's like, youth sports are so different. And in a smaller town where, you represent the town, and you're not on a select team, and you're not paying money, like, you're not just paying for your playing time, it hurts a little bit more.
Sure.
And like
community pride. I mean, that's,
I mean, like, and
trumps everything.
It's like, we try to be accommodating too. Like, we also understand, like, this is a long season. So, like, we had kids going to football camps and missing time and stuff. And we're just trying to make it work, but they're all working together. Our first workout as a team was in October. You know, we were hitting indoors in October and starting to work, and those kids have done everything we've asked. You know, and we've pushed them probably harder than they've ever been pushed in a lot of ways. We made practice more difficult than I think they've ever practiced in their lives at times, just because like they wanted it and they had a goal. And then, you know, it's just so weird. Like, you know, it's just like that whole idea of what's your purpose of the day when you don't have that. And especially maybe it's because I'm jobless right now, technically, until another week. So
Does the experience though, when you look back on the whole experience, I mean, obviously there's going to be more positives than negatives, even though that it ended on a negative way from just a coaching standpoint. But what you look when you look back, just the coaching, just how it ended. But when you look back on it, though, I mean, and reflect on it, there's got to be just so many great moments that you've gone through in the last few months. Just awesome moments that you're going to look back as you get older and just think, man, what an awesome experience that was.
Yeah, like when at the end I thanked the kids and just said it was probably the best summer of my life. I mean, like since I was playing. I mean, since I was an adult, you know, I spent a summer coaching baseball and working on a baseball field, you know, and traveling around Montana. I got to spend time with my girlfriend, the kids, my parents. You know, I got more time at home. I have more freedom than I ever had. You know, and when I'm texting with Jude or Larry or Jude or Booth about airports and SeaTac being hellhole and this and that, you know, I didn't have that nauseous feeling that I would get like sometimes when I'd have to try. I felt more free. You know, that doesn't mean like that's, you know, I'm done with covering baseball, but just this opportunity, you know, I'm really thankful to Adam and Tim and Condota and Shane Lance for letting me do this, you know, helping me do this. I mean, it really kind of reset me a little bit, you know, and it's just like I said, I hadn't spent a summer in Montana in probably 25 years. So to be home in Montana, and I mean, you saw some of the videos I posted, like those bus rides.
Yeah, I'm going to miss the bus rides. That's what I'm going to miss with the music.
The bus rides,
I'm going to miss those.
I mean, just listening to them talk, you know.
Yeah, that's the best.
You know,
that's the best. That's the best thing I think that into everyone, no matter what level of sport you play, it doesn't matter. It literally does not matter because I think it's all the same. Whether it's high school, college, people get professional ranks. That's the moment that everyone will say they miss the most.
Yeah,
it's the bus ride, the plane trips, it's the clubhouse, it's the locker room. It's why when we, you know, one of the things that we did for our team on our all-star team this year was I rented a bus for them so I could take them to the games. And I, you know, and to the parents, I was like, hey, it's just easier for you because I got to get them. They have to be out there an hour before the game. You don't all want to go out there. That wasn't the main reason. That wasn't the main reason at all. The main reason was so they all could ride in a bus together. Yeah. And BS for 45 minutes there on the way back. That was the whole goal of it.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, like, that's what players miss. MLB players miss the most. They don't miss the grind of the game. They miss being a part of a team and part of like
just playing cards in the clubhouse and dicking around afterwards.
Like when we go to meals as a team and we're like at a big table or whatever, we take their phones away so they have to talk to each other face to face. We pull their phones all the time so they can be present. You know, like we stayed the one time in this kind of big lodge at a tournament. We pulled their phones at 9:00 at night, so they had to do stuff. You know, they were playing cornhole, or they'd bring their Xbox. You know, they were doing stuff together. Like they had to talk. They just couldn't hide out on their phone. And I think that helped. Yeah, the bus rides. I mean, like those kids love to mimic things I would say, or you know, repeat things I would say. Like when we were hitting and stuff, and I felt like their legs were lazy or their intent was lazy, I would just say, if you're gonna go, you gotta fucking go on your swing. Like we're not here. We're here to do damage. So then I'd hear him repeating it, you know. And then I had this game in Kalispell where I yelled at the umpire because he didn't see a foul ball. I go, the laws of physics say it's impossible for a baseball to bounce that way. And so then all of a sudden, like something would happen, and then I'd hear Tyson scream, the laws of physics tell you that's impossible, right? You know, and things like that. You know, they just, I mean, after we'd win games on the bus, they play "We Dem Boys" and they'd sing along, and they'd have a bump in, and then like when we'd roll in, they'd want to. I said we had to listen to Tupac one time when we'd roll in on the bus, or then they love West Side Connection, "Bow Down" when we come to your town, and stuff like that. I mean, like, yeah, damn, that was like they were hilarious, and like me and my assistant coach would sit in the front a lot of times and just make fun of them, like these guys are idiots. But I was an
just
idiot.
because you
like
remember,
yeah,
because
I was an idiot
it's
like
you
that.
remember what it was like. That's why I think you like doing it. That's why I like being around it. I think it makes you feel young again. We're getting older, but I think deep down inside we're still young at heart. But when you're around those kids and you remember, God, that's exactly what I sounded like. This is exactly what I did when I was that age.
And you crave it because you don't have it anymore. Like you don't have that.
Miss it.
That you don't have that bonding. And like this team, those kids were all such good kids, and they really did care for each other. It was like we didn't have, there are kids here or there that would get out of line or upset you, but like for the most part, like the idea of we just talked about being a family and playing hard for each other. Like I never questioned how hard they played or how hard they tried. I would question some of the things they were thinking while they were playing hard, but I would never question how hard they played.
Does it make you want to do more of it, or is this a one-off? Do you look?
Yeah.
What do you look ahead in the future? What is it? Can you see yourself doing this again?
It's hard to say. Kind of like, I didn't miss the travel or like Twitter or
from covering the Mariners. Yeah, sure.
Travel or Twitter, that kind of stuff. I missed kind of the camaraderie of covering the games with other guys and being there. And I mean, like Cal Raleigh and I have a great relationship. I mean, I've written, I thought I wrote one of the bigger stories on him before he even exploded about what he meant to the team.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's not being able to cover it. Wouldn't say I like regretted my decision by any means, but like it'd have been cool to see some of that,
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know. Like it's hard to say. Like my parents getting older, that's a tough thing for me, and like here or there. But my the kids graduate after they got one more year, and then Cindy and I will have some freedom, and I think she wouldn't mind living out there. So maybe I'll keep doing this for a while. But I'm like my goal now is trying to keep my stepdaughter from committing to Montana State in track because she has an official visit in the fall at Montana State. And I'm like, I got to get a hold of this Grizz track coach. I'm like, this is signed, sealed, delivered. Just offer her the scholarship so we can be done with this.
Yeah.
Because the more like Bozeman contacts her, the more she likes Montana State. And I told her on that official recruiting visit that I'll be wearing Grizz gear.
Yeah.
And she
I say paint the face too.
Yeah, she said I'm not invited then.
I think you should be. All right. And then how was it being with Tyson this whole year? Yeah, because that dynamic is hard. The father, son, stepson, whatever you want. I mean, that's a hard one because you've got to balance it, right? It's you are one role away from the baseball field, but then when you're there, it's a different role, and it's. I know for me, it's a hard balance. It's a really, really hard balance.
I asked him initially, would you want me to do this? And I said, if I do this, I'm going to be harder on you than anybody else. I'm going to expect more from you than anybody else because I knew he had the potential to be our best all-around player. He's a natural leader. Kids just gravitate towards him. He's got the right personality. And I said, but at the same time, I don't want anybody to think that I'm favoring you, so I'm going to be harder on you than anybody. And he said, that doesn't bother me. There were times where it bothered him. I got the, you think I got to get a hit every time? Or, I was on him about his throwing, and I said something, and one of his teammates relayed the message, but they relayed it improperly. Because I just said, our best player just has forgotten how to throw, and it's going to come back and bite us in the ass if he doesn't work on it, and he needs to work on it, And so somebody said, oh, Div's talking shit about your throwing, so he was mad at me. He said, no, this is what I said. And I said, you have and it was just like, it wasn't like he had the thing. He just got mechanically off a little bit with like his longer throws from second base, and stuff like that. And you could tell it got in his head a little bit, and then he fixed it. That kid works harder than I ever considered working. He is more caring and more thoughtful than I ever was. Like, he's more of a leader than I ever was at any age, and he's better than I was at 17. I mean, at 17, he hit 470 or he hit 479 this year. He stole 40 bags. He had over 85 hits. And in the district tournament, I think he had 6 singles and 6 doubles in the tournament. Like, come on, he's probably one of the best overall players in the conference, and he was only 17. And this is a conference where the other all state kids were all 19 and 18. He's only 17. So, it was tough. There were some times, but his nature made it a lot easier. He was able, he's so easygoing on stuff and so responsible. That's the thing, is I never had to really get on him about, effort or being a leader or doing stuff. Like, it was more performance-based or process-based. Like, what are you thinking here? What are you doing there? Like I told him, sometimes I'm questioning it just so I understand what you're thinking. I'm not questioning why. I want to know why you did what you did, so I understand where you're coming from in these situations. So
probably guys grew closer from it.
Oh yeah, I would think so. I mean, he wants to go hit here at 3:00. So
it's amazing. That is amazing. Well, I mean, I have the title of your book.
What is that?
Best Summer of My Life.
Yeah.
That's a good, that right there. That's a page turner.
Like my buddy Knudsen, he met at the furniture store. No happy ending. I go, well, technically in the book, the natural, Roy Hobbs struck out and took the money. He didn't hit the lights in the book.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It'd not to be a happy ending. I think it'd be a great. Well, you'd write it in your sleep.
Yeah.
People would be. I just all about it. It's a great. I loved it. I mean, from afar, it was fun to follow. It really was. Just to see you and to go through it. I regret that I didn't make it out there. I so wanted to make it out there for a game, but just to see the pictures and you talk about the kids, and then hell, it was just a hell of a season. And I just think everybody, no matter what you do, like we're in the fun and games business, but like everybody could use a break. Everybody could step away for a little bit and just take a get a refresh. On life, and that's what you did. I mean, there's a lot of people are envious of what you were able to do, and I think it's important to do that.
Yeah, I mean,
it gives a great perspective on life.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super thankful, like I said, for those guys that covered for me. I don't know that the Times loved it. I think they tolerated it, but they let me do it. They didn't really push back too much. So, and I do think when I come back here next week, I'll come back pretty refreshed mentally, and I won't be that angry, beaten down guy that I usually am by August when I hate everyone from being on Twitter.
But it won't take long probably for it to come back. But maybe work on it. Don't let it come back yet.
Just it's like I was kind of perusing it last night while watching the game, and just just like I get Dylan Moore has not been great, but he's not the Antichrist either.
It is.
Like the hatred for him is pretty awful, high level for largely a role player that he hasn't performed, but he's not. And then now that Julio's kind of producing, it's kind of weird not seeing all the complaints.
More like if you don't hit a homer, shifted. Yeah, it's shifted from Julio and a little bit still on Moore, but now it's completely focused on Williamson. And so,
they don't win the game last night, though.
I know, but on Monday's game, it's hard for that group who hates him because they didn't comment last night too much because they couldn't because he won them the game.
Yeah, I mean, those were two ridiculous plays.
Yeah.
And they won the game. I mean, it's 90 feet. It's saving 90 feet, saving out, getting out. Like that's. I don't think it's not just the value of the ridiculousness of the plays that they got an out. One ended an inning, And then one, he still got an out in a situation where outs are getting as many outs are as important as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you wonder, he's hit a little bit better, but do you think it's like, does that give them any more pause to not go after and get a guy?
I don't think, no. I mean,
I
don't think it does either. But
I don't, like, if it's a bidding war for Suarez, from what I've heard, and I texted some people around the league, from what I hear, it's like Suarez, there's just a ceiling that some teams are willing to go on Suarez, and they feel like that Willie Castro or some of these other guys, while not maybe the power potential, are just, they're an upgrade for them, and that wouldn't be as much of a cost.
Yeah.
And I mean, especially if you don't want it, adding Suarez would be great, but you also can't limit yourself. You can't do anything that's prohibitive of adding another setup man, reliever type.
Sure.
You just need it. Like, you can get Griffin Jacks from the Twins and put him in that 7th, 8th role to go with Brash. It's a hell of a lot different bullpen. We saw it last night. I mean, even Brash gets hit, but those Spire's ridiculous this year.
You've been great.
But you just need one guy. That guy hasn't emerged. A few years ago it was Topa, or remember Steckenrider and Chargois. It just hasn't emerged. They've had some guys. Last year was Colin Snyder for a while, but there hasn't been that guy that really has stepped forward. I mean, they've wanted, for a while they wanted Trent Thornton or Carlos Vargas or, Casey Legumina. But you need a guy that consistently gets strikeouts, and those guys don't get strikeouts, or consistently gets ground balls like Topa. So if they can get, if they got Johan Duran,
sure.
What would you give up for Duran? Because you get him 2 years, right?
Yeah, I mean that one's going to cost you more than the other guys, but I mean I still don't think it's one of. I don't know. Do you think it's not costing one of the top prospects, is it?
No, I mean, you're not giving up Colt Emerson.
No, yeah, you're not getting one. I know that, but
it's
you're
probably
not giving
a package. It would be like a mid-level guy, or I don't know. I mean, it's like you do
I mean, it's what they would want to do. It's the type of move they want because of the club control. So.
Well, I mean, honestly, though, it's like, yeah, I mean, but you can, Jackson and Duran are both 2 years. I mean, that helps you. I mean, you can't. That's the one thing, is you can't sit there and say that they're afraid to go for it, but then not like the cost that it costs to go for it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing, is because they weren't willing to spend the money to go for it in the off season in investing that way, then you have to invest in prospects, or you can invest in dollars and pick up a guy. Because that's the one thing about Duran and Jax, is they're ARB eligible, so they make a fair amount of money.
Yeah.
Or Felix Bautista or somebody like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, they need one more arm.
Sure.
I think
they'll get it.
Oh, I do. I mean,
they'll
probably
get it.
not Jimmy Garcia again,
Yeah. All right, we got plenty more to talk about that. We'll recap the trade front next week. But I want let's end on this. You look back on it. Well, the players probably learned a ton from you and your coaches. But what did you take away from your players?
That's a good question. I took away, these kids are much more comfortable with their own feelings than I ever was. I had a drill sergeant for a father, but these kids tell each other they love them. Hey man, they are much more willing to just be themselves and who they are and how they want to be than I ever was, to speak their, granted, most of them can have a conversation beyond taking a picture of themselves, but no, I think they just kind of taught me, at that age, they're more comfortable being themselves than I ever was. And I think that's pretty cool. They don't, they aren't really afraid of anything. So.
Good stuff, Ryan.
Yeah.
Proud of you.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Hopefully, it just sucks. I'm sorry. I'm just sitting here. I'm I don't know. I think I teared up 3 different times yesterday. Just thinking about it.
Part of it, You invest so much time in something like this. And you know what? If you didn't care, it wouldn't hurt. So
No, as like my step kid, I mean, like he's a kid who's a go getter and gets up and lifts and does all this stuff. And I mean, he didn't leave his bedroom. I don't think he left his bed till like 1 o'clock yesterday, because he sat there and he's watching the replays of that missed call and going over the games and everything like that in his mind. Jesus,
a lot.
Could you imagine losing the 7th game of the World Series? What that would be like?
Yeah, I mean, no. When people, okay, last thing. When are people expecting you back? When are you back on the Mariners beat? Do we have a time?
My official return date to the Times is August 4th.
Okay,
so that's when I start.
Chicago White Sox.
Yeah,
the next day.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to get back in the Seattle area this weekend, and then is it this weekend, the 1st?
Sure.
Yeah,
yes.
29th, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So
okay. Safe travels.
Thanks, man.
See you, buddy.